Hello, welcome to the good stuff. Episode 16, the big
16.
one.
It's good. I feel like we say this every week.
It's always the big one.
Well, they just keep getting bigger and bigger.
Oh man, do they?
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like we've had a couple of 2-hour ones. Like last week's was a little bit quicker.
Last week's was short. Yeah, that's true.
That was okay.
That was a speed run pod.
Yeah,
It was good. I thought it wasn't too bad. We covered off some stuff. It was topical.
I've been away this weekend. I honestly can't remember at all what we talked about. Feels like a lifetime ago. I tell you what, subscriptions.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter about subscriptions and how everybody is super pissed off at subscriptions and the fact that Claude is going to be...
Is this the weekly rate limit? Is this...
Yes.
Yeah.
They're going to introduce weekly rate limits.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's 5-hour rate limits and weekly rate limits, and then potentially like daily rate limits against people using Claude code.
Yeah.
Now, my general... Yeah, I don't know. What's your take on this? Because you use these subscription services a bit more than I do. I think.
Yeah, that's true. And I've just started like dipping my toe into Claude code a little bit. You know, I'd like taken my time on that one, and I'd started playing with it, and then they got that announcement. I think what was it like earlier this week, maybe Monday. They came out and said, "Yeah, we're going to introduce the weekly rate limit." I mean, to be honest, if I'm being like really pragmatic about it, I kind of just think this is inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of gotten a lot for very little for quite a while, is kind of the way I would interpret it. Like when you think about what you can get out of some of these tools, these coding agents, it's just incredible that you could get that for like, even like out of a $20 subscription, let alone the $200. There's quite a lot you get out of it.
I think it's more when, you promise something to somebody.
Yeah,
and
of course. Yeah.
Like, it's not like if you say, like, oh yeah, this is going to be unlimited.
Yeah.
Then in the back of your mind, you shouldn't be thinking like, but everybody will probably only use it for like 4 hours a day. You should be thinking like, especially giving it to developers as well. It's like, oh yeah, I wonder what the chances are that these people will run like 15 versions of this 24/7. Like the chances are 1, like that will happen.
Especially Anthropic, because they've chosen to dial in on that vertical as well and just go, we are essentially building the stack for developers. This is what we're going to go all in on. This is how we differentiate. So, I mean, I agree with that. I think it's also just like a messaging exercise. Like, conditions on the ground are always going to change. It's like, how well do you communicate that to the market? Compare that to Cursor, who did like an absolutely terrible job of this.
I'm going to say, it's not like, that's almost the crazy thing, right? Is this got leaked from Anthropic because they started bringing people into like these little focus groups and then telling them like, you're one of our big users, so we're going to rate bet everybody. It's like, you just saw Cursor like a month ago, like piss off everybody by doing this, and everybody started like looking for alternatives to go. And you just do the same thing. I mean,
I think that was just super opaque though. The way Cursor did it. Everyone started discovering this after the fact.
They did it first, right? We're not telling them, but I mean, as I said, like it's probably, if you're paying on like a month by month basis and you can just cancel it, it's probably not too bad. But I can imagine like we just went through end of tax year here, like the idea that you go, I'll just pay for the whole year's subscription now. I want unlimited coding, and then it's like it's not unlimited.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know I've always found that Anthropic was way more aggressive in its like rate limiting of what I was doing than ChatGPT. Yeah, like it's very rare that through like a ChatGPT subscription that I ever hit a rate limit. Like even before I went into the pro version of the plan, when I used to have the $20-$30 a month, whatever it is, like it wouldn't ever stop answering my questions usually, whereas Claude always would. Like I'd quite easily get, even just in the web interface, to the end of that.
You still notice that?
I think, I don't know if I've had it since I moved to Claude. I'm currently doing the $100 max plan, so not the full YOLO version, because I don't really use Claude code. Like it seems a bit daft to go straight down that view. But like they're just more aggressive. So I'm not surprised. I think it's just because they don't have such deep pockets. Yeah. Whereas like OpenAI's got enough money and backing behind it, like particularly the Microsoft deals and stuff, that they can afford to lose money on this. Right? I think Anthropic are probably like the canary in the coal mine. Like it means that OpenAI are also losing a shit ton of money doing this. They just haven't hit that point yet where they have to do it. Same with Cursor, right? They were just a bit smaller than either of them, so therefore they hit this bottleneck a bit quicker.
Yeah.
But I mean, my view of this was like probably about a year ago when I first started hitting rate limits in Cursor, and then I more or less just thought, right, all this is fucked. I'm just going to go and use a version where I don't have any rate limits. Like it's I find this useful enough that I'm happy to pay for it. And like on a big coding day, I might go somewhere between $10 and $20 on Claude credits if I'm using Sonnet 4 completely. Although I could use Quen free coder, and then all of a sudden I've dropped my costs by 10x, and then you might be looking at like a few dollars a day for constant coding companions that you're working with. And at that point, you're like it's you get back up to your $200, $300 doing a lot of work anyway. So, but at least it's for stuff that you've done. Yeah, and it's definitely like more confronting when you're in an application and you do something, and it just says like this is like 20 cents for that question. You're like, no, I don't know if you needed to ask that question for 20 cents. Yeah. But in the same way that some people can be a bit of a dick when they're managing people, and they're like, no, you shouldn't need to ask that. And it's like, well, you kind of do. Like, you're assuming that this person's got like full context of everything that's going on, and people need space to like ask questions, explore stuff, make wrong turns, and then fix it. In the same way that these agents do a little bit as well. So you kind of need to give them a little bit of grace that they're not always going to do everything perfectly straight away, but they'll get there in the long run. I think, we see a similar thing there with.
Yeah, I think for some people, I think it's just like the unpredictability of knowing what you're going to get charged most of the time. Like there is this like bill shock element that can kick in where you're just like, oh shit, I've just spent, like $10 doing like this small thing over here that I wasn't expecting, which I think is what caught people off guard with Cursor, because especially if you had the like APIs running, you weren't really aware of.
You weren't paying attention
to it yet. Then all of a sudden you could run up a pretty sizable bill, and you're expecting $20 a month or something, and then all of a sudden it's like 3 times that.
And it's just bill shock against the size, right? Like, because it was, I mean, I had that with. I'm sorry, I should make sure I'm not covering my microphone there. I think I had that with Goose, where I just had it like look into something, like it was quite benign. I didn't really care, and I did something else for a while. And I came back and I said, "Why have you spent like $10 on that? Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh, I'm not fucking using this again. I need to rein this in." And I think it just got stuck in the loop. It was just like exploring like a bunch of nonsense that I didn't care about. And bear in mind, like this is like Goose with like no setup on my part. So I've done none of the hard work to actually make it work well. But yeah, like you certainly do get that, and it's not so much like, all right, it's not like I can't afford $10 for a developer to make a mistake. Like that would be like 1 minute of mistake in like a real human world.
Yeah,
like, this was something I just let go for like an hour or so. But it's just not the price that I expected. It's like, all right, I asked you a question. I thought it might cost like 20 cents.
Yeah,
like I'm surprised that it's like 200 times that or whatever. But
yeah, but this is human nature, right? I mean, like the price of getting coffee the other day had gone up. Like, I don't know, I think it was like 5.5% or something like that. But it had gone from like
bastard.
Terrible, absolutely terrible. But like psychologically, it had ticked from like being $4 something to $5 something, and it, it's a difference of like 10 cents or 15 cents or something. Yeah. But psychologically, you're like, oh, that's getting a bit more expensive. I wasn't expecting it. Although in some respects, we should be expecting price of coffee to be going up. But that's a whole other topic of conversation. But yeah, similarly, I just think it's that like consistency people are looking for. But also, like most people, especially us, but most people are just using like a dozen different tools.
Yeah.
And they're paying subscriptions for all of those.
Yeah.
And like before you know it, all of it just creeps up, and that monthly expenditure just keeps going. But as you often point out, it's like the alternative is hiring a human to do a lot of this stuff, and that's way more expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive for dicking around, but it's cheap for doing reasonable things. Right?
Yeah,
like so you've got to think about, well, what's the thing that I'm having this do, and is it valuable? And like that could be the thing you are dicking around, but you're dicking around with intent to learn. Then that's fine. That's
mostly what I do with it. But it's interesting because part of the reason why I was like, I'll dip the toe into Claude Code was because of all of the sub agents that I've been kind of seeing people using, and I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. But then like 24 hours later, it's like, we're just going to have weekly rate limits, which I was like, oh, this is odd, because surely, you've just like gone down this route of introducing sub-agents. Like, you would think you'd align billing philosophy to this as well. Like, if you're going to use this meaningfully, you're going to keep hitting those rate limits.
I don't know if Claude Code, you can just use the API as well inside there. You might be able to. In which case, then you can just pay as you go. Because they don't rate limit the API ever, because they just want you to spend as much as you possibly can. But I mean, I've always been of the opinion that a lot of these things where it seems like you're getting a really good deal on something unlimited is you're just not. And like, often people say, "Oh no, it's like made up because like over like 100 people, like only 10 are really taking the piss, and 90% barely use it." It's like, no, they won't go that way. They will just limit you on all of these things. And as always, you can't see any of the stuff that's going on in the background when you're running it like that. At least with the APIs, you get like pretty direct correlation between, you can even check your inputs and outputs for the token lengths and stuff and say like, yes, that is exactly what I expected out of that completion, and the prices are right, and it tracks, it makes sense. Whereas, when it's all just done behind the scenes, it's like, well, I believe that Claude is using like Sonnet 4 for this, but how do I know it's not substituted in 3.5?
I think that's a valid concern. Like, a lot of people having it, and you notice the variability in output sometimes, especially if you do similar tasks, especially Claude Desktop.
It makes no sense to me. Like, when I'm using Claude like inside Roo, I will use like Claude Sonnet 4 directly via the API through OpenRouter. And then I tried the Claude Code integration, and the results were shit.
Different, yeah.
And I was like, well, I mean, this should be almost perfect. Like, what's going on here? Like, and I just, when you get stuff like that, I'm just not convinced that.
Yeah. Well, it's even variability from like Claude Desktop. Day to day, you can get like wildly different output quality, doing very similar things.
Yeah.
And I think that is like where the tell is a little bit. It's like, what have you just downgraded the model here because of usage? Like, what's the motivation? And I think that's the other thing that would piss people off is like, if you're paying, X amount every month.
Yeah.
So where does the priority lie? What can you expect? Should it change? Like, all of those are reasonable questions to ask, because you're paying based on like, an assumption that you're getting X amount of quality that should be consistent. So when I go and pay for my coffee in the mornings, you just sit on the coffee analogy a little longer, like you're paying for the consistency, otherwise you can just make it at home.
Yeah, and we have these anchoring points.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you've said you were going to do this, and I believe it should be, you should honestly do that, and price it that level if you can do it. If you can't, don't price it that level.
Yeah.
It's this kind of like, I mean, like, just another analogy for the anchoring bias. I know, like, I used to have this when I was cycling a lot. I used to do a lot of triathlons.
Yeah. And
it would be the different, like, you'd meet for an early morning cycle. And obviously you got to get up before the cycle, but like, let's say you meet in a, I don't know, 5:45. So 5:45, you'd be like, oh, I can get up at like 5:10, and that's reasonable. Or you can meet at 5:30, and it's like, I'm probably getting up at like 5 to 5.
Yeah.
And like, there's a 4 now on my alarm clock.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, having a 4 on your alarm clock is completely unreasonable for like just a normal day, it feels. Like, it's like, what the fuck am I doing? But it's only like 15 minutes difference or something. Like, it's not like I got any major sleep in that time, but it's a huge difference in the shift of what I think. So even like, and I think you saw this with like OpenAI when they went from like a $20 subscription to a $200 subscription.
Yeah.
And like, I looked at that and I was like, you're fucking kidding me. And then obviously a couple of months later I bought it.
Yeah.
Like, because I wanted to generate videos of a panda breaking down in a car for my daughter. And I was like,
it's worth
I
it.
could pay it for 1 month. Yeah. But then I got really into using the deep research mode. I was like, shit, this thing's good. Like, now I look at it and I'm like, I don't use any of the tools in here enough.
Yeah.
Like, because I still have a preference for the Claude models. I think they're better.
Yeah.
For the most part. And then now they've got deep research, they've got deep thinking, like the MCP stuff is better through like, or I mean, OpenAI now has the MCP stuff, but because I already had it working in Claude Desktop, like I'm stuck. Like, I can't be fucked to move.
Yeah.
But I did like leaning into OpenRouter as just a single router for all the models. So as soon as new models come along, I can just, like, if I'm not happy with the cost of Sonnet 4, I can just move to Quen Free Coder. Kimi K2 or something like that, and just
that's a new one
quickly.
from like a couple of weeks ago, right?
How was that? The Kimi one came out first. It was okay.
Yeah.
And then like the Quen Free one was the one that, well, Quen Free Coder specifically was the one that came out that was like specifically for code execution. And I actually might be running that right now. So I actually have Ruko doing some work behind the scenes for us at the moment. So if we hear a little boop, means it's got to the end of its task.
It's done.
But yeah, so with that one, what was I saying? Yeah, so it might be running that. I can't remember. So I was experimenting with it. I don't know if I've turned it back, but it seemed absolutely fine.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. There was a free version of it on OpenRouter, but I found that if I tried to use that, then I just got constantly rate limited because I mean, they've got so much that you can push through for testing, but the reality is you can't really use those models.
That's interesting.
In earnest.
We might need to update that old Peter Thiel quote. You know, it's like they promised us flying cars, but all we got was rate limited.
Yeah.
It's the new 2025 version.
They promised
of
us
that quote.
flying agents or flying models, and all we got was rate limited.
Rate limited, yeah.
Rate limited at $100, $200 a month, and you're getting rate limited. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it is kind of nuts that they would do that. But my guess is they were secretly rate limiting you anyway.
Yeah. It's just a little bit more above board now. But, you know, there is a kind of broader question around the unit economics of some of these companies as well. And
the broader question is people should fucking pay for stuff that they use.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like wrong that I almost think this is like Silicon Valley getting found out.
Yeah.
Is that this is expensive enough to run that you can't just throw money at it, capture the audience, and then create a monopoly.
Exactly.
Which is like
the old playbook.
It's just like the worst playbook anyway.
Yeah.
It's like stuff should be just valuable, and then people pay for it, and then we know it's real. But instead, you corrupt the entire world into wanting free shit, and then you capture them into it and steal all their data and everything else. And I just think that's like a fucking sorry. Like, I know you were about to make a point, and I just went off sideways, but
I think
it's the sort of thing that just really pisses me off about it. It's like it's like because it's completely unnormalized, the idea of paying for useful software.
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally talking about some software that is the equivalent of like 5 guys developing an app for you. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay like $100 for that. And you're like,
yeah,
what?
I think the question of usefulness though is a sliding scale depending on who you are and what you're doing with it. You know, like OpenAI in some like weird way may have just like cornered the market for a lot of like low end use cases.
Probably.
And if that was the intent and the strategy, then okay, fair play, the playbook kind of worked again. But I feel like that is just, I feel like there is a progression.
They all cave though, right?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Like even in OpenAI, people go, oh, I think the model's nerfed. It's like the model's not changed. But they just behind the scenes, they limit like all the token inputs and outputs that you're getting.
Yeah.
They're probably like processing your question to remove a bunch of stuff from it before they send it to the model. Like there's all sorts of crap going on.
Yeah.
That is invisible to you because you just access it through this free model.
Yeah. I think there's also like, what I would say is like some sort of usefulness creep for most people where they just like their expectations evolve and shift and they keep pushing it and doing more and more and more.
Yeah.
So I do wonder to some degree if there's just a natural point where most people just jump off and go, this isn't useful anymore, let me go and explore like the open source options. And so I think we need those. Like we desperately need to push those options to more people. But for like most people who are just like it's like low end use cases, it's call and receive. I feel like they've probably just cornered that, and
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, which is a shame.
But even that will be expensive to them.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just that a lot of these people won't. You know, they're probably running like a local llama model or something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they don't need to because they don't need to license their own shit. But you know, they'll have like a smaller model that runs that does most of the responses to people, and they just don't. Yeah. They claim it's that model, and it's just a lie.
Yeah, it is disappointing because I think you kind of just want this like predictability. Like some of the things I think about is like where I start a new project as well. Like, do I want to just like do this in Cursor do I just want to do this in Cursor and use like Claude Desktop as I've kind of explained on the last couple of pods, which is kind of a cool system for small things. Like during the week, on the weekends, like, because you know, on the weekend I kind of play around with like building out this platformer game for other stuff, which has got you and I in it, right? We can jump around on platforms and collect Bitcoin, and you've got to avoid the little sprites of Janet Yellen
Yep.
trying to capture you. But this weekend, I added Sydney Sweeney because obviously she was very much in the news for a whole host of reasons.
I have no idea that
American Eagle did this whole like ad campaign with Sydney Sweeney. So
is that the thing in the jeans?
Yes.
Right.
So
yeah.
this
There
has
was
become
a
like
thing
a
on
far right
Nostr
thing
earlier where somebody, she just said, like it's just her saying, "I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin and to use it to defund the state, but guys that do are hot." I was like, all right. Like, so there's a lot of memes coming over that.
There's a lot of memes, yeah. There's a lot of anger and there's a lot of memes. But I was just like, fuck it. I think Sydney Sweeney needs to be in the platformer game. So now Sydney Sweeney is a playable character in the platformer. But see, like something like this, which is just a little bit of fun, where I've probably collectively spent about, I don't know, an hour over the course of a few weeks building this thing, maybe an hour and a half. Like that's great for what I'm doing in Cursor and just using the kind of the Obsidian MCP to just like manage notes and implementation plans and stuff like that. That works. And then like I think it was Monday I started thinking about like what if we had, for the good stuff, a chief marketing officer that was an agent that could just like, you know, it's not quite the pipeliner that we've talked about here in the past. It's like you just research the kind of the transcripts from our podcast episodes. It would be good if it had like web search, so it could actually just go and like pull some other source of information as well, and then just basically turn all that content into like a sequence of pithy tweets that it just goes and tweets itself. I think there's a couple of platforms you can use for that I was looking at. I was like, this would be kind of cool. Like, you just set up a whole new account. We'll just give him his own like personality, and it can just tweet like, you know, every hour or something, and based on our like good stuff podcast. And I was like,
It's like we talked about with Hype Man, right?
Yeah. Sort of I was like, I reckon I could do this with Claude Code. There's just like all sub-agents in there. This kind of work. It'd be pretty straightforward to build out as well. And so that's kind of why I eventually dipped the toe in. You know, and so there's this question around like, what do I want to use for the thing that I'm trying to build?
Yeah.
Like, where's the right environment? But then I think like where you're at, I think you just run everything through your setup.
Yeah, so I've already got so with Pipeliner, for instance, that uses like the Everest API as the back end, which exposes like an agent's endpoint.
Yeah.
And then I've got I've basically got like a structured, like a standardized way of like calling agents that I can describe like just as a JSON block.
Yeah.
And so I just write like, you know, all my system prompts, like what models I want to use, like any particular like context that I'm pulling in, I can call into this agent as I stand it up, and then I just send it all off to Everest, and it deals with it and manages the billing and all the integration with everything else, and like which model I'm calling and sorting out all the, because like a Anthropic model specifically uses a different message history format to OpenAI. So OpenAI, you could have like an agent message. Like agent says something, agent says something, agent says something, user says something, agent says something. Like whereas Anthropic insists on, or at least it used to, it probably still does, it goes like user agent, user agent, user agent sort of thing. And I think they use slightly different language in there, so you need to deal with that to a certain extent. So I always tidy that up on the way through, and I just can't be bothered to re-implement it. So it's like, all right, I'm just going to use Everest. It's already there. It already does it. It already tracks like what I'm spending on these things. Like, I probably need to tidy that up and make it a bit more useful to me to track some of these spends. Like it just seems easier to do that, because then I just create the agents on the fly, or I can create them programmatically, or I can have like just tons of them listed out in these like little JSON files, or I could then have like a, you know, just a little database that I can manage that writes the agents, and we just pull them from there. But it's, that's how I do it currently. But I mean, even like say Rucode does, like it's got 5 sub agents in it around like architecture, questioning, debugging, code execution, orchestrator, and they're quite well tuned, and they work really well for code execution. So I see all like this, like the Claude Code sub agents, and I'm like, well, like I'd have to go and write all of those agents myself. Yeah. Whereas say the Rucode, like the purpose of the thing is just code execution. So like, right, well, if they've got code execution, then I'm just going to let them do the code execution. I don't do anything else with those agents. like it doesn't do any of my planning work really. Like I'll use the architect sometimes to convert specs into the plan for the orchestrator to go after. But like I think there's something to be said about having a set of people just working on getting that like code execution stuff really good, and then it's following that. I mean, you could probably do that in Claude Code in the way that you import a bunch of sub-agents.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if it's worth
the effort.
It's worth it. Whereas, like, there's a definite, going back to like the Hemingway approach to this is that, like that bit, like the coding drunk, like I just can't monitor it.
Yeah.
So I kind of need to like let that go. And then like the agents are just going to run, and then luckily there's a bunch of people like looking at those agents and how they work. And I get good results, some good, tests all pass and the rest of it. So I'm pretty happy. But then I use a different environment completely to do like all the planning stuff. And so we see people talk about, okay, well, I'll remove all my planning into Claude Code, and it's like that's kind of horrible for that space. It's like you don't want to be reading your plans off a terminal window. I mean, some people maybe do that, but unless you're Neo, like just don't. Like just put it into a really nice space, like have it printed out onto sheets of beautiful thick paper and bound into a folder or something. Like just
get out of your environment.
Don't be in that environment, because you won't read it. You'll skim it and you won't take anything in, because you're like, this is just like offensive trying to read this in Vim or whatever. It's like just don't. But or at least that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's. So, I was kind of going through this process for the writing tool that we've been like playing around with, and I mean the big difference. I think I've like mentioned this on, maybe it was last week when we were talking about this on the pod.
Yeah.
Where I kind of have had these doubts about synthetic audiences a little bit. Like, how do you know if this is like remotely resembling like a real human, like a real human group of people? Like, I know that's the point of a simulation, but it's like, how do you know? And probably that takes time and a series of results to be able to measure against. But I was like, I actually think the pipeline that we've kind of built out, where you've got like agents having a dialogue, having conversation, is maybe a more valuable writing companion. It's almost like having like, you've got the editor, you've got like the mentor, you've got like, I mean, you can have a bunch of different personas there that you can just chat to, but all that while you're writing, they're having a conversation about what it is you're writing and how you're writing it. Whereas I look at certain tools, like I've used like Lex before, which I think I've shown you as well. Like, that's great. It's got like the little slash commands in there, makes it quite easy to write in that environment. But I find like the actual agent suggestions to be pretty limited. It's like, maybe a comma here would be like more valuable. And I'm like, I don't want to get hung up over this stuff. It's like, what am I writing? How am I writing it? Is it consistent with the style that I'm trying to capture?
I feel like maybe this is a little bit stolen from No Solutions with Gigi and Pablo. Shout out, friends of the pod.
Friends of the pod. Yeah, one day.
I believe they are. Like, they have commented on the podcast and stuff. So we'll see. I'll ask them at some point. But like, one of the things that they talked about, I forgot what my point was now.
You were going to steal something from No Solutions.
Yeah. What was it? Oh, it was about the idea that like the philosophy of the thing really matters. So when, like, one of the interesting things about AI is the execution of things has really dropped. Like, and you see it in code, where like, the price that you pay to implement your plan once you have your plan is almost nothing compared to what it used to be. It's like orders of magnitude less. Which means that you can just implement a lot of stuff, which means that we're going to get a lot of like just slop that we don't really need, because people can afford to just go, oh, I wonder what that's like. And so you're really going to like try out a lot of different things, but like the execution is like quick, it's easy, I can't really control it anyway. So the thing that really matters is like, well, what do I ask it to execute? And so it's really you really need to dial in that like philosophy of like, why am I doing this? So if you look at something like Lex, it's an execution tool for writing. Which you're like, that's like kind of the weird bit. Like, it's almost like it's hard to keep a human in that loop if you're doing that. So you need something else, which is going to be like, well, what if what if I just discuss the philosophy of why I'm writing?
Yeah, exactly.
More than the writing itself, and then don't worry too much about how you're producing the things. And then, like, I think that's where you would get a lot more
it's substance over
use
style.
of those, like the dialectics and the panel discussions and things. Is that you go, well, I want to say this, but I want to really drill into why this is an interesting point to make and how I'm making it, and I want you to understand that, and you can get that from the models, using this backwards and forwards dialogue in a way that, if you just say this, it will just say that, it doesn't think about it in that way. It'll just blurt out the first thing it says. Where if you say have a discussion about what this term means and give me a really good breakdown of it, and then it goes 20 turns around the block just discussing your idea and developing it, that's when you suddenly see new stuff.
What's a more human process? It wouldn't be dissimilar to a writer that's writing a novel. It might then go to a writing agent or an editor, and then they'll read the thing and they'll provide a bunch of suggestions back to them. But I even find that's a bit static.
Even more than that, it's not necessarily the editing bit there, it's the ideation. It's it's all the conversations the writer had in the 10 years prior to writing the word in the first place.
Exactly. But that's a process that you go on as a writer with a core team of people who, might intrinsically know your writing style, what it is you're trying to actually go and create.
Yeah.
And then they act as a sounding board all the way through. But you're right. I think that is a more human process for agents to then just surface some of this philosophical reasoning behind why you might want to explore different things in your writing as you're writing it, but not in a way that actually introduces hurdles to a potential flow. Because that's the thing as a writer. The last thing you want is something that will just interrupt your flow. It's often when I'm just typing something, I won't worry about spelling mistakes. I'll just write it all out, and then I'll go back and edit because I want to get the thing that was in my brain out onto the page.
Yeah.
And some of these tools, I think, actually interrupt you. They actively interrupt you.
Trying to be helpful at the wrong time.
Exactly. It's there's a time and a place for this tool to be valuable.
Yeah.
And it's not while I'm in trying to get into a flow state and stay there.
Yeah, it's like I said, the mindset's just completely different. If I'm in a flow state, just fucking leave me alone.
Yeah. But I love the idea that this could just be a writing tool that then has a bunch of different agents that have specific roles and specialties that are just having conversations behind the scenes that can just surface insights when you need them.
Yeah.
So I was planning that out and getting that into Obsidian as a series of working docs. So basically, I think 60% of the code that I've got at the moment is workable. So I don't need to start from scratch. I can just basically switch out a lot of the synthetic audience stuff and try and pull in the pipeliner to do that instead. But yeah, I think there's something there. But what was interesting is I actually started thinking about this more when I was away from the desk, and I was outside.
Yeah, we need coding by walking around.
Yeah, no, seriously,
it was the key way to do it.
That's where the thing, and then I started taking some notes, having a conversation with Claude on the phone, and then when I got back to my desk, I basically got the same conversation, just summarize all of the notes, pop that into Obsidian, and then I did this other kind of extraction process from the notes, just hone in on certain areas and go deeper on them.
So that's the only problem I've got with the Claude Obsidian file system type MCP setup for the coding is that I need to be using it on the desktop.
Yes,
so
exactly.
When I go to Claude on my phone, it doesn't have any of those connectors because I'm in a different environment.
Yeah.
So that's slightly frustrating. I have a feeling that the answer to this is, we talked about this just prior to kicking off, but I think the answer to this is going to be Goose.
Yeah.
I think it's got that lovely level of abstraction with the tools. It's extensible in a few different ways that are interesting. And I think what you want is something like a little local REST server in Goose that will expose the conversation that's in the session. And then you write a locally hosted dashboard app. Yeah. That you can surface that's mobile responsive, that lets you just go through it'll sound like it's why would you ever do this? You've just got 5 Goose windows. Yeah. And instead of looking at those 5 Goose windows on the desktop, I look at one web app that has 5 Goose sessions, and I click in it and I see what's in the window. Yeah. But then because I can get that as a local run web app, then without, even from my local computer, I can just use Tailscale and some like fancy proxying to just come in and then hit that web app directly from my mobile phone. And then I can like go in and say, okay, well, which session is running, which one's paused, why is it paused? I can pull it up, and I can have like a useful way of interacting with Goose.
Yeah.
Because I can, as long as I can hit the window, then I can give it the next message along. Whereas I was thinking about this with Rue code, I've got like a setup for doing, all right, well, can I just like alert myself elsewhere to do it? But even if I alert myself, I can't take a next action on it. So I think you need something like a little bit better integrated into there, which isn't available at the moment for Rue. But I think you could do, my guess is that Goose will support something like that. So I might have to like vibe code up a extension.
Like Goose is like essentially like an agent that's like locally on your machine.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can run multiple sessions with different like recipes for how it accesses different things, different tool sets, different system prompts. So like, yeah. And I believe you could have Goose sessions call other Goose sessions as well. I think that's in there, but I haven't spent enough time with it. But I feel like if I spend more time with it, it's going to pay off. But it's one of these things where it's not good enough out the box to just, like to go from cursor to client to Rue was simple. Like I just switched and I was like, oh, this is just better, and it almost out the box works better, and I can just import all the rules. I feel like I'm going to need to think through how I set up the Goose setup. But I think once it's there, I think I'm going to then be able to just do a lot more with it. Because again, you could have because then you've got like completely separate Goose sessions for your marketing team and everybody else. And they all just share all the data that's on your computer. And I really do think the right form factor for these things is you just have to buy it its own computer. Like you don't necessarily want these things to just like have sort of complete access to everything else. But then if it's got its own computer, what you need is, all right, well, I need a way of talking to it better. So Tailscale plus some sort of like local REST API.
Again, not dissimilar to an employee that you might onboard, right? Here's your machine.
Here's your machine.
Yep. You're not using my machine. You've got your own.
It's just that you get one computer for your whole team in this case.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting.
That's why. I did I think after the last episode, I drove into town.
Yeah, you've got.
I drove in, grabbed the kids, went and grabbed a Mac Mini. It's up and running. I just haven't had enough time to get everything set up on it yet. But it's got local models. We've got Qwen3 locally. We've got DeepSeek locally, so we can do different reasoning things. Which are definitely way slower than doing anything using remote APIs. But overnight, where I don't really care, I'm not waiting on it anyway. It can just follow a set of workflows for me.
Like what kind of use cases are you looking at for that?
I mean, for the overnight type stuff, it's really about tidying up my coding environment and planning environment. So like inside, say the Obsidian stuff, I run like constant change logs of things that are going on, so I can keep on top of it's hard when you're running 12 different projects and each of them have a few different features that are all getting implemented. You quickly get lost. So what you need is really good auditing of well, what are all the changes that are happening, and then write me out simple versions so I can keep track. So that if I come to do, I don't have anyone to send a weekly status report to, but if I did, maybe it's just to myself. I just go hey Pete, yesterday we did this, and the next on the agenda is this, and this, and I'm like, okay, cool. You're helping me now. This is good. It's a lot of this tooling doesn't exist, but needs to. So I do it manually by running, just Claude desktop to do this stuff. But I would like to do it just overnight. So I want an audit of all the code that's gone in, all the changes that have been made. I want the changelog tidied up. I want you to tidy up all the naming conventions in the file system. So what's active, what's backlog, what's complete. So change all those and then plan out the work for me, so that when I sit down with my coffee at the start of the day and I'm ready, I've just got a single microphone in the middle of the desk and no screen. I just want to just I close my eyes and talk. I want to know what to say.
Rick Rubin mode.
That's the goal. Or when I'm I start my day and I'm by the beach and I'm just walking along the sand. And I look at my phone and I go, right, and I dictate. That's where we need to be. I want to be away from the computer, and to do that requires like a whole bunch of stuff to be tidied up.
Yeah, I think once you're like, form factor is just so interesting. I think when you're away from the desk, like your ideas start to flow.
Yeah.
Well, there was a like really good quote. I can't remember who said this. It was a Rousseau, maybe, something like talking about ideas that happen in nature. Like you need to be out in nature for ideas to take root. And I can't remember, but there's a great quote out there somewhere that I've heard once before that I just thought about. I think getting away from the desk, like everything just opens up.
Yeah.
All the stresses, all the like interruptions, like you can't really create anything magical when you're chained to the desk.
True. So
I think that's going to be the key. If you can find a way for the work to get done and to relay information back to that machine from wherever you are.
There's also like you get a bunch of shit about vibe coding with certain developers. You know, I was going backwards and forwards with them at talking to Tobin from Rust Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Who's like, he's very much in the weeds, just loves the syntax and like how you develop the code, and he fixes everybody else's mistakes in the world and deals with all of it. And he was giving me shit for vibe code, and I was giving him shit for using his fingers like a caveman. Like, it's just.
I mean, it feels relative, right?
Yeah, and like it's because like the view of it is that kind of like you just say something that's not really a spec, and then you just let it go and you don't care about it. But we can also, you can vibe test, and you can vibe review, and you can vibe security audit, and you can vibe like there's like all this stuff that we do to deal with the fact that there are people that code stuff that isn't great that we've used forever, like open sources, can also be done automatically. So if every night you take every PR and you do a full security audit using like a panel in Pipeliner on it, then you're actually going to start picking up problems with your code, and then you can have them, as long as you can like run that analysis every night. And I could do this just using DeepSeek on its own, but I could also be running like a Puppeteer session, and I can go through an app and I can check everything overnight constantly. So every day you're starting with like clean integration tests and all the problems that have come from the previous day's coding, plus answers and pre-written PRDs to how you would fix them. And you're told that actually they've fixed them because we just kicked them off. Did it. Like, there's flows to this stuff. Like, I think DevOps is just going to go on steroids. Like,
I feel like we're still like maybe on this particular one we're like a touch ahead of the curve yet. Like this isn't something that is yet being talked much about, but I think it will.
DevOps is going to be lit.
Like if you think about it, it's like vibe coding, but no one ever said you had to, push to production like the same day.
Well, come on, like what sort of man doesn't just test in production? Like, what are we doing?
Straight away. But no one said that was the case. But the mechanisms are there to just have this running. Yeah. I think that's the other thing is like we've thought about this a little bit more, and we've also like built some tooling to actually go and help us do it and stuff. Like that's different. I think if you're looking for something off the shelf right now, it's probably not. It's probably not there.
Yeah, like the everyday, the everyman vibe code. It is just talking into a microphone and like just fucking stuff up.
Whatever you get is what you get. Yeah, that's what you're stuck with.
Like one of the kid in Mikey's one of his classes is just he's got this like class that he goes to where like one of the kids has vibe coded an app. I assume he's vibe coded it anyway, but he's created an app that you could run on his iPad where you run around and eat tacos, and then as you eat more tacos, like a dad comes out and chases you around, and then you get like
that's cool.
20 dads, and then they were looking at like ways to introduce mums to it. Such a weird concept. And he said, it was really cool, and I said, oh right, I didn't know you would be interested in that, but we can do that.
Yeah.
Like over one of the weekends, we'll sit down and we'll code up an app for you. And it's like, what can we do that? It's like, you just need to come up with an idea.
Games are cool for this stuff. Like I think that because especially if you just like run them locally for yourself, like which is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Like I think early on I created I was like, could I create a like 3D version of Ski Free? Do you remember that game? Like it used to come like preloaded on like the old Macs, and it was like. You literally like
you
skiing
downhill and you're just trying to go through the gates. So
well, there are like it's just like off piste. I think
I was an Amiga man as a
proud
European.
You missed out on Ski Free because like after a while you'd be skiing down, you're picking up speed, and then at some random point, actually it's probably predetermined. It just felt random. Like the abominable snowman would come and chase you and eat you, and like there was no way to outrun this. I think some people like controversially say there was, but I refuse to believe there was any way to outrun this thing. And it was cool. Like you could literally sit and play this thing for hours. But I was like, I wonder if I could create like more of a 3D version of Ski Free, and just for like nostalgia's sake, and like have it like just embedded on the website. That would be cool. And so yeah, but that was pretty easy. I think I did that a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And it just works. But again, like if I was going to push that straight away, I'd probably want to spend a bit more time in the code and make sure there's nothing there that can break easily. And that's a game. Like games, like, you know, stuff like that's not too complex to go in vibe code. So yeah, but there's so many things you could build as games. Like there are even some old like board games that I played as a kid that I was like, I wonder if you could like replicate this into, like, take the rules from this game and turn it into like a slightly different game, but as like a strategy game, for instance. Like that would be quite interesting. And yeah, I think there's just like, this is just endless creativity here on offer. So that's cool. Is Mikey going to build something?
Well, he doesn't know how to do it without me, so I guess like we've got some stuff on this weekend, maybe the weekend after.
Yeah. Games are a cool place to start to play with some of these tools as well, I think, because yeah, they never necessarily need to. Like, I think that we talk about this like feedback loop quite a bit with learning as well. Like if you're trying to like figure out the tools and also have a bit of fun and learn some stuff, I just feel like games are a good kind of form factor for it, because you get this like instant gratification when you see the thing on screen. It's like, oh, this was cool, I just built this. Let me try something else. Like adding Sydney Sweeney into the game.
Well, and you would assume as well that it's too hard to make a game in some ways. Oh, I can't do that. I don't know how to do it. It's like,
yeah.
Okay, well, here's a way of... It turns out you can.
Yeah, I mean, there's like, it's a sliding scale, isn't it? We're not talking about building like...
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, exactly. This game that is coming out for the last like 7 years or whatever. You know, like there's a lot of like, I don't know, like graphics design and stuff like this. That's like obviously way more intensive than anything that we're trying to do to vibe code. So, but yeah, I just think it's a fun place to start if you haven't. Go and build out a little game. Like it's a good nostalgia trip as well, because that's the thing I did. I just went straight to nostalgia from when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I played this game once. Let's see if I could build a version of it now. Yeah,
I remember I used to have. There was a game on the Spectrum that we had. I think it was Gift of the Gods. Yeah, and we used to really like it. It's like a platform game, but it like the disc got corrupted and we could never find it again. And it was like, you know, this like early Spectrum days would have been before. I mean, we had a disc Spectrum, which was rare enough compared to the tapes. But like there was no like copying and pirating games. That was more Amiga onwards, that sort of industry cropped up. But yeah, just like I still have these fond memories of it, but I have no idea how it was. But I know we used to love the game, and then the disc got knackered. Yeah. And it really pisses off. I felt like I just lost the most amazing. It could have been absolutely terrible, and I wouldn't be surprised if it probably kind of was.
Yeah,
but
when you're a kid,
having a crack at it again.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like,
if anybody has Gift of the Gods, like on an emulator or something, send it. Just let us know.
Yeah, reach out. I was like, it'd be incredible to just think, like, if you're a kid, just imagine, like, playing Prince of Persia back in the, what was it, early 90s, I think.
That was another solid game.
Yeah, very solid. I was just like, imagine just being able to vibe code this in an afternoon, like, 30 years later. It's pretty crazy. So that was always a bit of fun. But anyway, yeah. Vibe coding games is like an interesting place to experiment.
Right, well, we'll get stuck in with that.
I think so. I think Mikey would get into that for sure. But yeah, where else do we want to explore? Was there anything else we wanted to touch on?
Look, unless we're going to go down like an hour long diatribe about how great Bitcoin is, like,
we could do that too.
I don't know if it's the time right now.
No.
I've just got back from a bush bash and I'm like hyped up on it. I did show off Beacon for the first time to new people, which was very interesting. Got some good feedback on that. So we kind of like hinted at this on the pod I think before, but Beacon is it's like an AI agent framework that sits inside different text apps as a means of interfacing with it. So you have like a concept of gateways in here where I can load up WhatsApp and I could send a message to this Beacon phone number, and all of a sudden I've got access to a set of AI agents that can do different things. And particularly, like, one of the things that they're able to do is deep research on your behalf, so they can go and figure out an answer to something and give it you back via WhatsApp. It's like, yeah, okay, sounds reasonable. I'll explain why it's cool in a minute. And the other one that they can do is they can control Bitcoin wallets and cashew wallets on your behalf. I've done a bunch of work on the trust model to how I can make this a little bit friendlier in other ways. But the idea here was there's like billions of people all over the world that do not have access to the internet in any meaningful way. Partly because they live in countries that just censor all the information on the internet, so obviously China, but like this happens all over authoritarian regimes where there's certain stories that you just won't be able to get access to. You know, there's like, we've tried to previously in governments I've been in, you'd be running infrastructure in like public areas and events, and there's just a surprising amount of just like issues with the networking layer where clearly like things are being inspected and things are being dropped randomly, and you just don't seem to have very clear access to the internet to get information to and from people's phones. Then you have people that can't afford smartphones, of course. Then you have people that even when they can afford smartphones can't afford like data for smartphones and so on. And there's a few different situations I saw where it would be like the one thing that people could reliably use in their day-to-day life, and almost like what they saw the internet as was like WhatsApp and Facebook. So Zuckerberg back in the day started a program called Free Basics where he would effectively pay for your internet access, but only for WhatsApp and Facebook. And then that led to a bunch of like feature phones and various different things being created where like they would have just WhatsApp baked in because everybody uses WhatsApp. And I think if anyone's traveled like across, you know, South America, like across large parts of Africa or, you know, Southeast Asia, like WhatsApp is everything. Like all commerce just happens inside WhatsApp, but it's a complete walled garden. And like, you know, if you want access to the APIs, then you go and ask Zuckerberg, and then you got to sign up to all the various different things. And I thought, what if like we took this walled garden of like 4 billion people and we didn't ask like Mark about it, and we just like injected a little bit of freedom tech in there. And we said, look, if you send it to this number happens to be a set of AI agents that will process whatever request you access, you ask it, and provide information back. And then what if like your identity in that system was actually like a Nostr key that we can generate on your behalf and allow you to exfiltrate through a different process, which I've not implemented yet, but you know, coming soon. TM, 2 weeks. And then we could take WhatsApp and we could take this walled garden of several billion people, and we can just put Nostr into it. We can put like unencumbered AIs into it. We could put Bitcoin into it, and we just go where everybody already is. So instead of trying to get everybody out of the current system that they're kind of locked into, we just take all the freedom tech and go directly into that walled garden system and make it available. So so that's the point of Beacon, is that, you know, the tests that you would run were, if you were to go on the internet in Venezuela and ask about the legitimacy of the local Venezuelan elections, what you're going to hear is that it was fine. If you go into Beacon and you say, oh, what was the legitimacy of the recent Venezuelan elections, what you get is a detailed list of all the complaints that have been made about the recent Venezuelan elections. You know, if you don't really have access to the internet, but you have access to WhatsApp, and you need to figure out like how much fertilizer you're going to put on a field of rice in a particular country, you'll get the answer from Beacon directly inside WhatsApp at no cost, because Zuckerberg paid for all the transport charges for that. It's also like the most reliable like transport layer inside a lot of these countries, again, because somebody pays for all the like the QoS and the routing of this. It's all free. So yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to do that. So that's Beacon. So it's not fully live and that anybody can just sign up to it at the moment. There is like there's an open source project on GitHub. If you look at what I'm up to, you'll see it in there, and there's constant things getting done. So at the moment, I'm just redoing all the secrets management and creating some Docker deploys just to simplify actually getting it out so more people can run their own Beacon setups. And then that's
very good. It's exciting. This is one that like occupies a lot of like mental load, because it's just such an interesting idea. But I also love that, you know, we're not trying to force a platform on anyone that you know, they already can't support it anyway. So you're just going to them
Yeah.
There was this great chat on.
There's so many particularly launching something like this into like a Bitcoin world. I'm aware that I'm making like trade-offs all over the place that we wouldn't always want to make, but I'm doing it in the sense that, well, these people are
they're already there.
They're already in this walled garden. It's the only place they are. I'm just going to go to where they are, as opposed to assuming they're going to move, which is always a bad mistake. People don't move.
Exactly. Yeah. It's play the convenience angle first and then incept it.
I find it delightfully subversive.
It is subversive, of course. I was just going to say that is the beautiful angle on it. But also, I think there's like this. The timing of this is quite interesting as well, because I like that there's this conversation that is ongoing about Bitcoin as currency versus capital, which I know the guys on Presidio Bitcoin PBJ podcast, hopefully friends of the pod.
Friends of the pod, probably.
Yeah. At some point in the future, hopefully, guys, if you're
get them on to talk vibe coding.
We should, yeah.
We can compare.
But they're having an interesting chat. I don't know if you caught it this week, but they're having an interesting chat about this.
I listened to it yesterday.
And I can see this being this great vehicle for Bitcoin as currency. It's just incepting this into a space where people are already, they're already using WhatsApp as, essentially a tool for commerce. So it just makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
But also, like, everyone, when they're building stuff, just focuses on the West. It focuses on the US, the Anglosphere, and that's who they're building for. And it's like, well, there's a whole world out there, guys, like, that desperately need this technology that can't access it. And, but especially for Bitcoin, I just think this is phenomenal. This is very exciting.
Yeah, you're aware this has been on my plate for quite a while, and it was really just finding some time and a little bit of blue ocean space to just go and create it properly. But having got that opportunity, I'm kind of enjoying it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think it needs to get out there and be used. So like there is a baked-in assumption here that this is useful to people. It feels like it should be. Like what I don't know yet is like whether there is any uptake. So hopefully in the next, realistically, it'll probably be within the next month.
Yeah.
Then I hope to have it deployed in the field with a bunch of people, and we'll let's see. If they use it, then we'll make it better. If they don't use it, then all right, we'll ask why.
Exactly.
And then maybe fix it or maybe abandon it, depending on the answer to that question. But I think it should be pretty useful.
But the feedback so far has been like just overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to go in WhatsApp either. Like so it's such like a horrible set of design constraints to just say like, well, like what if like I can't have any local storage on the phone, so I can't assume that. I can't assume that you're in any particular. I don't know. Like it's basically made to work inside a text box that can send a message.
Yeah.
So you could run it inside SMS, you could run it inside WhatsApp, you can run it inside Signal, you could run it through its own custom web interface as well if you wanted. So I'll probably use that for kind of exfiltration of the keys. Like we actually split. I came up with a system of using like Nostr as a message queue, so I could take. Effectively, you've got a custodial application that has to run all this stuff, which introduces a whole bunch of risks and a whole bunch of liabilities for anybody running it. So I took all the more controversial aspects of the platform for the custodial nature and said, well, what if I could just take those out and run them somewhere else, or somebody else could run them? And so you could have this split up where, one person can run all the AI infrastructure, which, I'm quite happy to run all that with other stuff in Everest. Somebody else can run the key signing infrastructure.
Yeah.
So we don't ever hold anybody's keys. Or that could be run inside a secure enclave, and we do all the signing in a way that nobody can ever see any of the keys. Maybe like talk to Open Secret about that. That'd be good to chat to those guys. Yeah. So that would be another option, like the Cashew wallet side of it that's integrated into there with eCash stuff. Like again, that could just be run by a completely separate person, and then they all talk to each other back over Nostr MQ, so that I never have to run anything with anyone else's keys, even though I can deliver what is effectively a custodial user experience. So I can make it very simple for you. I can run all the agents for you. You can pay me for doing that, and then that through the same platform, I can mediate access to money, but I don't actually run any of the infrastructure that controls the money or signs for any of the payments. And therefore, we solve some of those trust model issues that like you wouldn't go to that level of arsing around,
yeah.
for lack of a better word. Like, unless you're a Bitcoiner and you care about this sort of stuff, and there's a philosophy behind, trying to do this in a way that gives people power, despite the fact that they just have access to like almost nothing that's useful in a sense. Like, it's just, but that means you can hijack WhatsApp and get Zuckerberg to pay for it, which is great.
Yeah, turning WhatsApp into a force for good.
I was on Nostr this morning. I was talking to AK, future friend of the pod. I don't know. It might be a friend of the pod. I don't know. But he was, and I was saying to him like, "Oh, we should put like a BitChat gateway in this as well, because then you could have people inside." I mean, BitChat I think is a bit more open, like IRC stuff, but it would be interesting to have people be able to then communicate over Bluetooth mesh to then use this, because then you could have like one server that's running somewhere in like a village, and then everybody in the village is just talking via like a Bluetooth mesh network to each other, and it hits the server through that, and there's no internet assumed at all. We just use like a couple hundred meters of Bluetooth mesh. Because
I imagine like internet connectivity would be a huge problem in some of these places anyway.
Yeah, they can be. I mean, costs seem to be the worst thing. Is like, even when you get the internet, like nobody can really afford it, so you could do. But yeah, like mesh networking for this sort of stuff would be sweet. And there's nothing about
the data component,
the protocol. Like, you could have like one guy that has access to the internet, and he runs the laptop that has the beacon gateways on it. And he also has like a BitChat gateway on there, and then everybody's interaction with it would be through BitChat.
Oh, that's cool.
Now again, your problem there is that your assumption is everybody's got a smartphone, so it breaks down in a different way. But I think if we can just drop the barrier to entry to having a Bitcoin wallet and access to AI becomes a text box, and like one guy out of 10,000 having the internet. Like, that's pretty. Like, I don't know if we can get it much lower than that.
That's it.
But if that's your onboarding,
and everyone already has WhatsApp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one place. That's a good place to put it, I think. But I think we could make it even lower.
Yeah.
And like, even like, there's a lot of work that went in. Like, WhatsApp doesn't have threaded messages and conversations and various things in a way that are really useful for designing these things. And so all of that is implied as well. Like, there's a lot of intent analysis and stuff going on inside the agent system to figure out like what is being asked and how we respond to it, and does it relate to other things, and are we in the middle of like a particular like UI flow. For instance, like, you might have a multi-step flow, which is how you make a payment, or you might have a multi-step flow for like giving somebody like education around a topic, and like sometimes you might be asking like the next question that's relevant to that flow, and sometimes you've just skipped somewhere else and we didn't know. Like, there's no way of doing it. So because of all that, we have a lot of this abstraction that then works in a way that I can use it across different things. So I could start a conversation via SMS. I could move to WhatsApp and then finish in Signal, and it would all work fine, but you wouldn't necessarily know what was going on. So stuff like that's kind of cool. I also like the idea that you could give, like, I think the best, like, again, the simplest user experience I think you could get to for like onboarding your gran to Bitcoin would be something like, you just lie to her and you say, "Oh, gran, my mate Bill is going to do it for you," and so you just send him a message, and he'll like tell you your address for receiving Bitcoin, or he'll spend Bitcoin for you. He'll just do it all for you. You just need to send him a message. You know what? Actually, if you ask him like any question, he's pretty good. He'll probably just give you a really detailed answer. So just like, don't worry about how to do Bitcoin. Just talk to Bill. And then she goes, "Oh, Bill, can I get some Bitcoin?" He says, "Oh yeah, just send this to whoever you need." Like, okay, I'll send the message. Like, "Oh, I've got some Bitcoin. Bill, what's my balance? Bill, can you spend this? Bill, can you do that?" And all of a sudden she's like, and then you make it a phone call, and you just phone Bill up and you go, "Bill, can you send some Bitcoin to Andy?" And it's just like, boom, done.
Yes, please.
And it's all, we can do all that because we've boiled down the entire UI into a single text box at a time, and like knowledge and intent abstraction based on previous conversations.
It's nicely community focused, that, isn't it?
Yep.
It's almost like the old village square where everyone's got their like a specific intent.
Well, this is the workaround that's done across like a lot of like African countries, is that they have massive uptake of agency models, which is one guy has a bank account and like a Binance account, and then everybody does Bitcoin via that guy.
Yeah.
Like he will just trade, like he usually has a mobile money account, like a bank account with US dollars, and then say like a Binance account or something like that they're managing all of their crypto stuff from. If you want to go from mobile money to bank account, it's this guy. He is the exchange. Like he is the interface. He's the human API that does all of the stuff. And this agent model is just so embedded in the culture. So well, I think it's the way. It's like just use it. Just meet people where they're at. Like you know how to use agents. You know the agent model. It's agent model. It's agency agent model. Like, same thing, right? It's just there's a guy that does it for you. So let's just like create a new guy that does it for you that happens to be a robot and can do it for everybody. Like it's just.
I mean, that's like that was our culture as well for a long time. The butcher and the baker and the sword maker. It's
the sword maker.
Just
candlesticks.
The candlestick maker. I wanted to
go
a bit
violent
more,
of you.
bit more medieval. But like that's it. I mean, I think there's something to really like about that. Again, very human centered.
I obviously I really like this as a design. I just don't want to get too ahead of myself and assume that it's useful for people. Like I think it should be, but let's see. But again, you can use it for like coordination of activities. So if you're running an event or something and you wanted to have people turn up, like the agent can know the event and then the agent can coordinate all the people that are coming. Or you could have like an agent inside a group chat that actually manages like a common wallet across like multiple different people. So now I could build like a Sacco that only exists inside WhatsApp. So Sacco is like a community saving and spending vehicle that's used quite regularly throughout Kenya, for instance. But like, you have similar models like all over the place, where people do community save. Everyone puts in $5 a week, and then over time you bank up money and then you spend it. So, I mean, we do it with private members associations here in Australia, for instance. Like community wallets are quite a good thing, but who really wants to set up a multi-sig? Well, what if I had an agent where I just send in money and then it uses these remote signing services to do the whole multi-sig on your behalf and you never see it? And all you see is like, can I put some money in? Yes. Can I spend some money? So you go in the group chat, you say, can I spend some money to this? Everybody in the group chat sees it, and then the agent contacts everybody individually to get their vote or not, and then reports back into the group chat like what happened. We can do all that. So a lot of this stuff still needs programming, but these are all the ideas. That I'm like, all right, well, if this is a useful interface, we can go ham on this. We can we can take the whole internet and we can stick it inside a WhatsApp message. And like, good luck with your censorship, dickhead. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think that's like we're talking about the wallet aspect, but the access to knowledge aspect is just so huge.
I mean, the tagline I think I use for it is free information, free money. Or freedom money, because free money sounds a bit
scammy.
Unfortunately, it's free information, free networks, freedom money.
Yes.
Like we're not going to ask. We're just going to do it, and fuck you.
Well, I just think like what does it unlock to have access to information in ways that we just can't see? That's
literally fucking everything.
That's the
horrible idea of what's going on, is that there's people that have like access to all the information in the world, and there's people that don't. It's not overly fair. Like you can't necessarily expect everybody else to pull themselves up by the bootstraps when they don't have access to this stuff. Correct. So let's just level the playing field for people, right?
But it's also like information that is useful, not just a flow of information that is essentially propaganda.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that is just like right at a superficial level is incredibly valuable, I would have thought.
Yes.
But then if you just like take that into like farming use cases, I think it's going to be so like interesting. You're a farmer out in the field to be able to just like go, I've got a bunch of innate knowledge of how I've done this in the past, but let me tap into the world's farming knowledge.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that is just fucking unreal.
Well, and AI sort of gives you this bridge, like we talked about a bunch, right? It allows you to move from like this really kind of subjective, like specific human world of a question into this broad, like structured data where I can now execute like 10 years worth of research in a moment and come back and do something. And it's like, I don't know. It's probably my guess is it's going to be better than browsing the internet. So this is one of the, leapfrog. That's the word I couldn't remember that yesterday on my chatting. Yeah. But like this to me is, I think it's a bit of a leapfrog moment for, like, you know, you're never going to browse the internet like a caveman using your thumb. You'll just chat to something and it'll just tell you what you wanted to know.
Skipping a few technology generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously there's, like, you know, and this is why we're exploring, like, the bias in different models and things like this, and like how you can work around those things, and options for open sourcing the models. Like, I mean, Jack, obviously, presumably friend of the pod. Like, if he, like, we've got to mention everybody so I can tag them all. And just like, you know, I think it'd be great. Like, he could run like an open. Yeah, he's got some money. He could run an open source model to support Beacon or something like that. And
I imagine he would love this. This would be right up his alley.
Exactly. Okay. But yeah, let's see. Like, as I said, like, step one isn't useful. Like, that's the first check. So we'll go sort that out, figure out whether it works correctly for what people need, or if not, like, what we need to change to make it work, and then go from there. But I mean, it's the reason I'm focusing on the deployment stuff, is I want to move a lot of my discussions into this, where it's actually quite useful to have just the ability to, like, have an agent that knows a bunch of stuff that all runs. I can run a set of, like, you know, set stuff locally on my machine for context that provide it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to make it probably also just going to turn it into, like, quite a highly powered personal agent for myself.
Yeah,
that I
definitely.
use via WhatsApp, and I'll just use that for spending money and asking questions and whatnot. I can give it access if I run, like, a version of it on the local Mac Mini. You know, that makes it quite a simple way of just interfacing with my personal knowledge graphs and all sorts of stuff. So it'll be way more knowledgeable than any other AI that I work with.
Yeah.
Which would be cool.
That would be very cool. I mean, there is a broader question around, like, using these agents for personal commerce as well, like, which I think it's probably something we could go into on a future pod, because there's probably a lot of depth there. But it's like, how does it change consumer behavior as well? Like, I know Rory Sutherland talks about this a little bit, where he's like, when the form factor for making the decision
friend of the
changes.
pod, Rory Sutherland.
I think so. I think we've got to tag him in the this is twice now we brought him up.
There you go, he must be.
So he must be a friend. He talks about this, like, in fact, I think he was literally just on Chris Williamson's podcast, also maybe friend of the pod.
I feel like he's one of those that I don't really listen
to. Oh, okay. No, I listened to this because Rory Sutherland was on it.
Yeah.
But he's talking about, like, the you know, like, you go into McDonald's and, like, when you order in front of a person versus when you order from the screen, like, how the buying behavior changes.
How much more you buy.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm going to get the 20 nuggets, I think, today.
Yeah, well, there's no, like social ceiling on, like, what you can purchase there, because you're literally just interfacing with the screen. And then it's like, okay, we just extrapolate that out a step further, and it's like, how does the buying decision-making change again when you've got an agent that's tasked with finding you the thing?
Yeah, and you're even removing your own identity from the thing, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. I think that's, like, an interesting area for...
cyberpunk future, isn't it?
Yeah,
hopefully.
I mean, yeah, you just don't know, like, in what direction that could possibly go. But I do think about how that shifts buying behavior and our own kind of consumer psychology as well, and just buying stuff for the sake of it a lot of the time. Like, I think that is a lot of our consumer behavior, is just consumerism, is just buying shit for the sake of it. And so, yeah, I just wonder, if you abstract that away, like, what does it look like? What does that mean for advertisers, which I think was kind of the point Rory Sutherland was diving into. But for the rest of us, yeah, I think it's potentially a good thing. Who knows?
I like it. All right, that feels like we're coming up to an end point there. So, you know, like,
beautiful.
Reach out, like, get on Beacon.
Get on Beacon.
When it's ready.
Feedback, probably a good thing.
Probably
in the
a good
comments.
thing. I mean, it's not like, send us comments. Like, we
know.
should like and subscribe.
Yeah,
like, there's like all the boxes are up now on the screen, and they're saying, like, here's a playlist. Go check out the other shows. Like and subscribe. Like the channel. Add comments to the videos. We like comments on the videos. Like, tell a friend.
Apparently, it works when you ask people to do it.
Apparently,
I don't know, we're testing the theory.
I don't know if it works as well when you're, like, an hour 15 in. But
that's probably it.
We'll see. Anyway, what's the good stuff? The big episode 16.
See you next week.